All right, we're looking at GPO Centuri 4-16x44 ultra compact. Tiny little scope, nice wide field of view. We're currently on 4 power. This terrain we're looking at is about 130, 150 yards from us. I sort of picked it as it's not, would not be out of place for elk hunting terrain out here in New Mexico. We're currently on 4 power. We're looking about 130 yards out. I am just outside the city. If you look higher up, that's Sandia Mountain. We can look up to the top of the mountain. It has some antennas and other things to look at. Let's focus on that. Generally, a few things to look at. I'm gonna slowly ramp up in magnification so you get an idea what the reticle looks like. At the moment, illumination is on. This is the brightest setting. It's not ultra bright, but it does go very low, so it's quite good in low light. So we are now on 16. Reticle becomes more visible. I'm going to block the objective so you can see only the center cross is illuminated. Reticle itself is pretty decent. It's kind of like it's not the most modern reticle in the world. It's more like a P4 reticle that Schmidt used to have. The fairly simple mil hash reticle with half mil radian markings in there, which is generally helpful, easy reticle to use. The one kind of knock I have on it, this illuminated cross in the middle does not give me half mil marks, and I find those very useful. It basically goes almost full mil, 0.8 mil on each side of the center. Aside from that, it's a very, very usable reticle. Again, it's not the most modern reticle in the world, but it works. The one thing I do find nice, and they changed it mostly based on some feedback they got at SHOT Show from me and a few other people regarding the thick bars on the outside. They were trying to keep them skeletonized. We convinced them to keep those solid, and that really improves reticle visibility substantially. So we're looking at something a little bit closer now. I'm going to go back down magnification: 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 5, and 4. Even on 4, the reticle is, while it is admittedly relatively thin, it is nicely visible. Having the thick bars there really helps. The slow reflection, you see the sun is kind of over behind my right shoulder. So here, when I block it a little bit, you don't get that particular reflection. Overall, it is a perfectly competent reticle. I tend to spend with most of my scopes a lot of time around 8-10 power. So here we are on 10. Everything is sized appropriately, and the reticle is easy to use. If I dial the illumination off, I'm slowly turning it down. They have this smooth adjustment. Right? Now it's off. On low power, it is really low. Which is, it's not a bad way to go. They do illumination very, very nicely. There is no bleed over. And again, these guys come primarily from a hunting world, so for low light, this reticle does work very, very nicely. Okay, next on our list is GPO Centuri Compact 4-16x44. We are looking at it currently on 16x, so there is a reticle from the scope, there is a reticle from the collimator. They are reasonably lined up vertically, I think. So the first thing to do is to check reticle accuracy. Looking on high mag, you don't see too much of the reticle. The way I've got this thing set up, you'll see some. And you can see that it's beginning to pick up a little bit of a offset, maybe about 0.1 at 5 milliradian, something like that. So we're looking probably about 2% reticle error. So at 10, we are to maybe 2.5% reticle error, roughly. Not great, but workable. And let's look at what it does horizontally. Again, one of the problems with this reticle is that there are no numbers. So it's not as, you kind of have to count hash marks. But we'll align it vertically. We'll offset it a little bit. The horizontal lines, and let's see. And we're picking up about the same amount of offset on the horizontal. So it looks like the focal length of the objective is slightly under what it needs to be. Let's line it up again and check the tracking of the elevation turret. Right, we are at 0 now. This is a 10 milliradian per rotation turret with 0 stops. So I'm just going to dial 10. And let's see where it's going to get us. There we go. Okay. All right. So it looks like the adjustments generally with the reticle, they're slightly less off. There's about 1.5% error on the turret, and maybe about 2.5% error on the reticle. This is more of a scope for dialers. On the grand scheme of things, it's probably good news. Get it back to 0 and make sure we're there. 0. Do some more dialing and see where we are. 13. I'm gonna go 17. So 19. After 19 is the most it's gonna let me dial. And at 19, we're about 0.3, 0.35 off. So that roughly corresponds to, yep, at 1.5% tracking error. Let's see if it gets it back to 0. 0, and we're back at 0. So it's tracking consistently. The dimensions are slightly off. For most rifle scopes, 2% is about the spec. This is within 2%. The reticle off is a little bit more than 2%, and both vertically and horizontally. All right, so for shits and giggles, let's check the windage tracking. Let's line this thing up again, just a little bit. Okay, we're on 0. Let's go more to the side, and where does that take us? Nowhere. Oh, there we go. All right. And the turret is wobbling. I think something happened to the turret. I'll have to revisit this and see why it's having this weird effect.